I'm going to look at this from a perimeter point of view, and it's just the easier way to break it down. So we're going to start off from our least biggest threat, from starting all the way out, and then we're going to work in closer and closer and closer into ourselves, looking at each level of security and sort of things we need to watch out for, right? So what we're going to start off with then, and we're going to use Google Earth as our kind of like, as my guide to help you to visualize what we're talking about and to visualize our tactical scenario that I'll be putting together for us, so we can sort of kind of logically understand what concerns I'm going to raise with you here, right? So what we're going to first look at then is the wider area. So the wider area, we're talking about like your bigger town area, right? So we're talking, you know, some sort of a town. I mean, I've just chosen this town. This is our town for today. I choose a different one every time I do these presentations, right? But this is somewhere random in the UK, right? It's nowhere near where I live or any of my friends or anything like that, right? Now, this here happens to be the house I've chosen. This is our subject property. So this will be the one we'll be using as our example today, just to illustrate. I feel it represents everything we need. It's got the right property. It's got a bit of garden. It's got a community. It's a cul-de-sac which offers other problems and opportunities. And it's a smallish town, not a city, but enough properties to give you a problem, right? Now, the wider area we're looking at just generally, you need to start looking at, for example here, we know that this town, obviously, we've got a railway here. Yeah, we've got railway tracks that are running through. Yeah. You can see there's a river here as well that runs along, right? So this is potential hunting grounds for fishing, for example. Yeah. There's a few areas of woodlands as well where you may be able to, you know, get yourself some birds or something. You can see the woods here. You can see like sort of forest section where, you know, there could be some more wildlife in there. Could even be a potential hidey bug out location, don't forget, nearby as well. So this is your wider area that we're going to be looking at, and we're going to be using as our example as pretending this is where you live, right? So let's just pretend we all live in this house. It's quite a nice house, isn't it? Better than the house I live in. But and it looks like an alright town, but it's got everything that we need in terms of what I need certain ingredients to be in it to help you go through this, right? And you'll see as we go through, right? So it's quite difficult to find a town that's got all these things in it, and it's got decent quality 3D mapping doing, right? It took me ages. Now, so the wider area, you're going to want to, because you're not really going to know what's going on, the reason I've got on here the wider area intel, right? You see up here I've got wider area in brackets intel, is because in terms of your security from a perimeter point of view, there's not really much you can do from an offensive point of view to, let's say, for example, if you had a gang of peeps coming in this road here, which looks like it's the main road into your part of the village, right? So you'd have to come down this road here, right, to your little estate to get there. And again, then you've got this road here. Doesn't look like it, but there's a road here, yeah, in that bushes. So there's a road there as well, right, that leads in and out of your village. So in terms of your wider area intel, what you could do with knowing, really, to get the best heads up as possible in terms of, because you want as much time to prepare for the threat to get to you as possible. That's the key. So the wider perimeter you can have your eyes on, right, and your intel coming in, the more chance you've got to prepare. Now that could be your local neighbours combined together in preparation, so you know where the threat's coming from. You can all be, not all of you, because you don't want to leave flanks open, but you know, you can be positioning yourself ready at the point where they're coming in from. So one of the examples you see is that you could have a friend that's over this side of town, right? You could have somebody who lives here, for example, yeah, maybe in this house here, who can see the road, right? And so it may be advantageous, right, for him to have a ham radio or something, so that if they see a bunch of trucks or whatever coming down this road towards our house here, we live here, don't forget, we live here, right? So it means that when they're coming through this road, we would get a heads up. Now, equally, It would be good if we had a friend, and we'll pretend we've got a friend that lives here as well in this house, right? Or it's actually a friend of a friend, but it doesn't matter. They're good enough to give a ham radio to, right? That's why you should always have more than one. Have a couple for your neighbours, right? Don't rely on them having their own. I've got a couple spare for our close neighbours, right? They don't even know I've got them for them yet, right? But I have. So the idea being is that if you can get the heads up from these people that there's someone coming up the road, right? And if we look at ours, so this is the importance of having the intel of your wider area. Yeah? So that we can see what's going on ahead of time so we can prepare for it, right? Now, the problem we're going to have, so if we come back to here and we get into the list I prepared you here, right? So use your wide area knowledge and local intel to plan through the SHTF scenarios. So this is what I'm talking about with the local radio stations that are local to this town in terms of anything that they're going to be announcing with notifications. As I said, your ham radio repeaters, you may find you've got a ham radio repeater near you, which could allow you to get extended distance. You'll have to look that up and get the channel frequency number and so on. You've got supply storage locations, which could be places for either that are a threat to you or that are places that may be places that you can go and get supplies from near you, right? In an SHTF scenario when everyone's gone home and they're not there. So plan with friends across town, ham and LoRa. Now the reason I've got LoRa there is that means long range, low power. This is a communication system I've used in a lot of my prototype engineering designs for things. And it's something as well that you can use. And I'll tell you the problem, right? Your typical ham radio jobby, right? Like this. Baofeng ham radio. Your typical ham radio is going to be like, don't think you're going to get 10 miles and 5 miles and all this other stuff that they say. It's absolute nonsense, right? In a built up area, right? Maybe from mountain peak to mountain peak, yeah, from here, on this hill here, right? Standing on this hill here to that hill over there with the green thing, maybe. But when you're in your home or you're in your street or in your front street and you're trying to talk to your mate who's all the way over here, over town, forget about it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry, it's not. Not even with 5 watt of power. I'll show you what. So let's do the ruler here. We go boom, right? And if we go over to this side of town here, look, let's say you got someone who lives over here. Look, 1.3 miles. 1 mile through built up area on a ham radio is going to be a struggle. Right? It's going to be a struggle. Now, your matey boy here, right? Your friend who's maybe living here, as I said, who can give you the heads up. Look, this is like 0.18, 0.2 miles, like a quarter of a mile away. Yeah? So... yeah. So in that respect, it's doable for a ham radio. But if you've got someone that's right across town that you want to communicate with, you've got an auntie or a nan or a dad or a friend that you want to keep up to date with and to see what's going on their end and to see what's going on their estate in their neighborhood, you're not going to be able to use a ham radio. It's unlikely. However, I'll go full screen here so I can give you the heads up. There are some things that you can do, so we're going to cover that now. Ham radios, right? Let's just deal with this quickly. Now, what you don't want to do for a start is you don't want to be transmitting on more power than you need to be because you're just advertising where you are and so on, right? Second thing, use an extended battery for 2 reasons. Obviously, because your battery lasts longer. Secondly, because 3 reasons. Secondly, because it fits in the pouches better than the smaller batteries. This one just gets lost inside the pouch, the ham radio pouch. But also because with the extended battery, you get a little socket on the side there that you can charge while you're using it and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be in the base. In fact, I've made my own. I've designed my own for that. So I've got some things here I want to illustrate to you because there are some things that you can do to get extra range from your ham radios, right? Now, you'll notice that the antennas I'm using here aren't the standard antennas. These are... Can I stretch it out for you? This is a diamond antenna. It's called the SRH805S. SRH805S. Now, the reason these are good is because They're omnidirectional, so they go all the way around you, so that'd be great for your local neighborhood and so on. And they don't push out enough, too much of a tuned power, let's say high gain, so that you're not blurting out more than you need to, right? Now, what you can do is you can have a bigger antenna. Here's an example here. This is more like you could go fencing with this. Now watch out, because it'll take your eye out. When this thing unfolds, look at the size of it. It doesn't even fit. I mean, I don't even know how many things it is, right? Now, clearly, you're going to struggle walking around like that, right? But it's fine, because one of the things that you can do... Let me just fold this back up again, because it's unwieldy. And we don't want to have your eye out now, do we? So, but what you can do, which is a good idea, is, for example, if you're bugging out, or even if you're just in your homestead and you want to be indoors, but you want to have maximum range for your antenna, what it's worth doing... And I'll perhaps do, like I said, I will be doing a separate show to do with all things to do with ham radio communications. But one of the things I can recommend straight away is you can get one of these antenna cables. As long as you get the right SMA connector, RP, reverse polarity and stuff on both ends, you're good to go. But what it means that you can do is to replace the standard antenna with the cable, right, extension, right, boom. In fact, it's the other way around, sorry. Boom, right. So that essentially goes into your ham radio, right? And then you could be, for example, wearing that, or that can be on the windowsill. And then out of the window, you can then have your antenna of choice. Yeah? You see? And you can just connect so now your antenna look is separate from your radio. So there's things that you can do to get an advantage on range and maximize the distance, but because it becomes unwieldy and stuff, you can go for options like this as a little bit of a, you know, a measure to overcome it. Now, the other thing that you've got an option for doing, if you know what you're doing, and I will be doing a video to show you how to do all this, and I'll be selling a kit as well as part of my tactical comms kit that I've put together. If I can get this antenna cable out, let's get rid of that. Now, one of your options, just briefly, because this is a problem when people are talking about security and defenses, and communications is a massive, massive force multiplier, right? So the problem we've got is that when we are talking about distances like this, you're going to have to be realistic about how far you can get to. Now, you can get all the way over to the other town over here if you want. If you've got a friend that's halfway and you can reach your friend who lives here, for example, over here, then you can use a repeater, right? Now, the way a repeater works is you would take two ham radios, right? There's a bit of hokery-pokery configuration. I'll show you all how to do it. But you have two ham radios, and to give you a quick heads up, what you essentially end up with, I'll have a kit that will put it all together. Here's a special, now I'm a prototype engineer, electronic and robotic engineer, but this is a charging unit that I designed. It's just a circuit board, and I've just heat shrunk it and put a cable on the end, right? But what this allows me to do is, as I said to you, the benefit with these extended battery packs is I can keep that on charge constantly. And this is 2 amp charge. This is twice as fast charge as the standard charger that comes with it. So that can just go in a battery bank. Now what you can do is to have these 2 radios connected together with the ports. So you have in the side here is where your head socket would go. So the first thing is I would always most definitely recommend using an earpiece for your ham radios. And I'll get into this a bit more when we get more into the perimeter of your property for when it comes to defenses and security, right? But I would recommend the earpiece. I buy the little foam things that go over these as well because I find it more comfy. So, and again, you've got your push to talk. And then of course, your main cable that goes in. Now, essentially what the cable that goes into the side of your ham radio, the headset cable, is a combination of the speaker, so you can hear it, the push-to-talk button, and the microphone. So the kit that I'm going to be providing you with, what it essentially does, is it will take the microphone out of one, and this will be connected into the headphone of the other one. Okay? And then the microphone of this one is plugged into the headphone of this one. And they're on different frequencies. And what they will do is to act as a relay. So what happens is when you set it up correctly, and I'll give you a cheat sheet to do that, is you can set it up over here with your friend. So you can have your friend over here, and they have the 2 radio repeaters. And so one of them is set to the frequency that you're transmitting to, right? It goes straight out of one, next is sitting next to it, right? So you talk to this one with your ham radio, and it goes straight into this one. The speaker out here goes into the microphone in here, and this one transmits out at the same time at a different frequency. So it comes in here from you, and it beams it out of here. Exactly what you're saying goes in here and back out on a different frequency. And so the idea being is you have a different frequency for transmit and receive. And what it allows you to do is to transmit and bounce your signal through a relay. The other benefit with that is you can use more directional antennas with your ham radio for these long distances that we're talking about now, for our security for wider area this is. The relay station offers a further benefit in as much as it's more stealth. Now when I say stealth, I'm talking about radio frequency RF stealth, because there's lots of sophisticated equipment that can pick up your transmission of your ham radio, and they'll know where it's coming from. So one of the benefits of a repeater system is that you can have an antenna that like a Yagi antenna or a high gain antenna, maybe like a 20 decibel antenna, which would be about maybe a 9-degree deflection angle. And it will mean that you're transmitting your signal very specifically in one direction. So it means anyone else around you can't pick up your transmission. So it means that you can transmit directly to your repeater, and your friend can transmit directly from him to the repeater with a special antenna that's very tunneled, and no one else will even know you're talking. Yeah, and it's very unlikely they're gonna, if they find any location of anything, they'll just find the location of your repeater little box that's sitting there with these 2 things sitting there. And this could be in a tree with a solar panel, if you know what I mean. So, the other thing we have a problem with is, like I said, the range. We can't rely on the range of our ham radios working over these distances. Cheers, my absolute lovelies Wolfpack. I do hope you've hit the like button by now. Now, I have mentioned these before, and again, I will be providing these with my own version of the firmware, with my own version of hardware with these. But these are the Meshtastic encrypted long-distance communication devices. Yeah. Now, the idea of these is they use LoRa. This is why I've got here the ham radio and LoRa, right? The long range, low power. And because the chip on here can transmit encrypted messages for about 11 miles or more, and it operates on a mesh system. But the way it works is like a text messaging system. It uses Bluetooth to your smartphone, and when your smartphone connects to this, basically, right? And when you want to send a message to one of your other members that would have one of these too, right? You would have maybe 10 of these if you wanted around your town. And if you wanted to send a message to your friend, you would use your mobile phone like you would a text message, but there's a special app that comes with it, and you can send a message via that app, and it goes into here, out of the antenna here, up to 10 miles or more away, and they'll receive the encrypted message their end. Nothing to do with cell towers, nothing to do with the internet, nothing to do with Wi-Fi, nothing to do with any of that. Point to point, encrypted, stealth, undetectable, long range, low power, 18650, jobs are good. If you want to be communicating over distances like that, the only way you're doing it is with either LoRa modules like that, giving updates, and of course that will pass GPS positions to your friends on the network as well, on the mesh network, so they'll know where you are if you're moving around. Your GPS coordinates is sent as part of your message to people if you choose for that to be the case strategically, right? So, don't underestimate the complexities of transmitting over vast distances across towns. Ham radios like you get these Baofangs, great as they are, they do have limitations. Don't let that catch you out. So, project your tactical supply routes, possible roadway, vehicle choke points, key infrastructure threats, and so on. Right, this is what we're looking at when we're talking about our wider area. So, just to recap then, just think about your area as a whole where you live. Just understand the pros, the cons, the threats, the opportunities, the things around you that you can use, the woodland, the rivers, the lakes, that you may need to be relying on for fishing or water. If your water, don't forget, this is, as it says here, remember, this scenario assumes a grid down event. Right, so we're talking no power, no water, no internet, no cell or telephone, no nothing is rocking. You are on your own and your preps. If you haven't got provisions of water stored, you're going to be having to get it from somewhere. So what we're going to be looking at now, we're going the next level in. So now we're going to your local neighbor.